Hey everyone, welcome to ITD Gaming Appetizers. In this episode, we're going to talk about Sony purchasing Housemarque and Nixxes game companies or game studios. So Sony's acquired a couple game studios, and we're going to get into it. Make sure to like and subscribe, or make sure to like this video. Subscribe if you want to, whatever. Let's get started. So Sony has purchased Housemarque, who made the Returnal game just recently. They've also made other games in the past, like Super Stardust, Dead Nation, and I think some other games as well. I can't remember. They do have some other games under the belt. But of course, Returnal's their newest one, and that's got pretty good reviews from the critics and users alike. Seem to like it pretty well. It's got some hiccups, but mostly people seem to enjoy it. And then Nixxes, which I've never heard of, but they apparently do PC ports. That's their primary thing. So, yeah, very interesting. But Shane, what do you think of all this stuff?
I think Sony is moonwalking back on many things they said about the PS5. Sony announced, when they did their whole PS5 reveal, and they were trying to show Microsoft up by saying, hey, our games are future for this console. And now their games we're future, but we're also going to look behind us just a little bit and maybe put some over here.
The future's today.
And a little bit yesterday. So Housemarque is an interesting purchase. The Nixxes one really makes me laugh because Sony was giving crap about Microsoft on PC and Microsoft on your phone, Microsoft on your girlfriend's birth control, but now they're porting stuff to PC. The Horizon Zero Dawn going to PC, and you're going to see a lot more. I bet you see God of War announced pretty soon too. I think Sony sees Microsoft is doing right by getting their stuff out there. Whether or not they put it out day one like Microsoft's doing is one thing. I can understand why they wouldn't. Perfectly fine with it. If they want to wait a year before putting certain games out on PC, that's perfectly fine. But I find it interesting that they purchase a company whose job is to take consoles games and put them on the PC. Now, as far as the Housemarque, though, I haven't played Returnal yet. I just got my PS5 a couple of weeks ago, and that's on my radar to play. It looks interesting enough for me to want to play it. That's about it. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I try not to look too much because then the game's been out for a while, so I'll get spoilers and crap. I don't want that. But I think Microsoft and Sony buying up companies here lately is interesting moves. I don't know really what to think of it, though. Sony is doing their thing typically, but now they're kind of following Microsoft up a little bit, with some purchasing and some PC stuff, and nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Competition breeds better stuff. So hopefully we see more of these trends. But I would prefer to see a partnership than a purchase myself, because I would rather see those developers stay independent. And after their job is done with this company, they have the option to move forward. And that's on both sides, because I think once you lose a developer to, a big company like Sony or Microsoft, EA, whatever, you can lose some of the love and the passion you see in those games. But I'm still excited to see what Sony does. Do you think Housemarque was a good buy, though? Because the reviews on Returnal have been mixed. Some have said game of the year and some had what the hell.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Sony buying Housemarque for me was kind of like a duh moment, because besides like maybe one or two games, most of Housemarque's games have gone to PlayStation. So this is kind of like, well, that makes sense. It's like Playground games. It's like Xbox, when Microsoft bought Playground finally. It's like, well, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Like, why didn't you buy them sooner? And that kind of felt like that with Housemarque and when it comes to Sony. It's like, I mean, Super Stardust was on PlayStation. Damnation was on PlayStation. Outland, which I don't think did super great. That one was on Xbox. That's that with that just that like platformer one where you could change colors from like blue to red, and yeah, I'll show you later. But anyway, and they made some other games too. Which I mean, some of those games had come to other platforms, but they mainly were a Sony platform for the most part. As far as most of their games went to the Sony PlayStation, so that was kind of like a no brainer. Yeah, and I don't know. It just depends on. Returnal's done pretty well for itself. Like I said, critically and user base, it seems to be gotten pretty good reviews. It looks like an interesting game. I hope to get to play it soon. I'm sure I will. Patrick owns it, so we'll borrow it from him at some point, and see how it is. I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that was a good buy for them or not. Depends on what Housemarque makes next, right? If it's a flop, then whoops, maybe it wasn't such a great idea. But we'll have to see. They seem like a pretty talented studio, so I bet their next game will probably be, and especially now that they're going to have the kind of the backing of Sony and kind of that Sony money and stuff like that can flow into them. I bet that they could probably come out with something pretty cool. The Nix's thing, that makes sense for me in the fact that they have been porting some games to the PC. Days Gone just recently came out there. Horizon just came out to the PC recently, not too long ago. And, Death Stranding's on the PC. That was a while back, but, some other games as well. So I feel like the Sony buying them is more of just, they probably didn't have a division or a company that they owned that could port. So all these other games that were coming out were just either the developers of the game or some third party that was porting them there. So they probably bought Nexus just to port all of their games to PC. Not necessarily all of them, but when they do have a game that they're going to port to PC, they can throw it off to Nexus and say, hey, this needs to go to PC. And then they can do what they do and port it over, right? So now you have one group or one development group within your foundation that's their job, is porting them over to PC. So that makes sense. And as far as that goes, they don't have to get other developers to do the port or anything like that. They have their own division that just does nothing but port PlayStation games over to PC. So
yeah, and that's funny you mentioned that. Rumors have been swirling around Sony buying Bluepoint. I had to just Google it up to make sure my brain wasn't farting. But rumors about that. Now, Bluepoint is known for their ports, amazing ports. Dark Souls for PS5 they did. And you're lactating for that game, so you love that game. And
it's a good game.
And everything that I've seen them do has been top notch. So that would be a hell of a feather in their cap, because if they can do that with ports and remasters, maybe they got talent enough to make a game from the ground up, or at least take an older game like they did with Dark Souls, pump it up. That would be a pretty cool purchase for them. I mean, definitely, they could definitely use it.
Yeah, that rumor did come out, and then the next day, if you look into the next day or so, Bluepoint put on their Twitter in their description, we're 100% independent studio. Blah 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 blah. So pretty much shooting that down fairly quickly.
That's okay, though.
So yeah, I mean, it would make sense. I mean, that would be another one of those type of things, because we really haven't heard of Bluepoint until, I never did until Demon Souls and the Demon Souls remake. So I could see, Sony going out and purchasing them, Sony purchasing Bluepoint now that the Demon Souls came out, and Demon Souls did really good, and it was a really good remake of that game. For Sony to purchase them, it'd be again, one of those things with Housemarque, a duh moment where I'm like, oh, of course, that makes sense that they would purchase them, and possibly do things like you said, bring back older classic games and remake them or whatever. But it sounds like Bluepoint wants to be independent still, as far as we know. So that doesn't mean, that means also that Bluepoint could then eventually make games for Xbox and Switch and other things.
Yep, and I'm good with that. They did the Nathan Drake remaster, the Nathan Drake collection, which is fantastic. I own that. They also did the Shadow of the Colossus,
the remaster
one, and that was a vast change from the original. And I love Shadow of the Colossus. That was like one of my absolute faves back in the day. So this company's got skill. And I would bet money Sony was like, hey, here's some money, come on over. But I'm, like I said earlier, I am happy to see a developer stay independent, keep their independence and their freedom to do as they want to do. I think it's better for the market.
Right. Yeah, and for them, it's like, Sony's going to pay them to redevelop or remake or whatever these games. Microsoft could do the same thing. Yep. And so I don't see Nintendo doing that, but I could possibly see Microsoft doing it, or I could possibly see like some PC games like Steam or whatever, like coming to them to remake something or do something like that. So that's it'd be, I would imagine that at some point Sony probably will purchase them.
Yeah.
If they haven't already tried, and at some point, I'm sure Bluepoint will be purchased by Sony or by somebody, possibly. But for now, they seem to want to remain independent. And hey, if they're making enough money to stay afloat, they don't need to be purchased. As long as Tencent doesn't come around and buy all their stocks, then I think we're good.
Yeah, Tencent needs to stay the hell away from everybody. Just stay the hell away from everybody. But yeah, I'm really interested to see that, and I would love to see them just keep up doing those cool remakes. I mean, I would like to see what they could do with, their own stuff. But could you imagine them coming back and remaking, a classic PS1 game like, Crash Bandicoot would be cool. But, Sony owns Sucker Punch already, or Naughty Dog, excuse me. But some of those classic PS1 games that you don't see anymore. I would love, and I was talking to a guy at work, I would love to see a Fatal Frame brought back. Can you imagine Fatal Frame with today's technology and graphics? Holy crap, that would be amazing.
Yeah, and they do have that Fatal Frame game that they're coming out with, Black Maiden. That's a remake of Fatal Frame on the Wii or Wii U. I can't remember
either.
Because that one was, because when they showed that off during E3, I was like, Fatal Frame Black Maiden. I was like, man, that sounds familiar. Isn't that one that was already out before? And sure enough, it is. But supposedly it's like the best one. So, what they were saying as far as ratings and various things like that, and that one is coming to Xbox as well. So it's coming to Xbox and PlayStation and Switch and I think PC. So it's coming to pretty much everything. So we'll see how that is. But yeah, I'd like to see a new entry into the Fatal Frame series, something brand new and not just a remake of an older Fatal Frame game. But I mean, that's, we could talk about older games that we would like to see come back in another podcast. But yeah, it would be cool to see Bluepoint do stuff like that, like bring back some of those old titles and do remakes. Or, they are making their own game, that abandoned game we talked about before. That is their own game, or at least a division of their studio making something. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with them. But, good on Sony for buying Housemarque. They seem like a pretty good developer. So, hopefully that pans out for them pretty well. And like you said before, competition is good. So, hey, keep that competition going between Microsoft and Sony. And then we, as the gamers, we benefit.
Oh, God, yeah. Yep, I'm excited to see what they do. I'm happy for Sony, happy for their purchase. I like seeing them compete with Microsoft, even though I know damn well we ain't competing with them. No, you're competing because Microsoft's doing well, and I want the both to do well. I also want Sony to, quit being so damn greedy, but can't have everything. But is there anything else you want to say about this? These mergers, these partnerships, these purchases?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. We'll see you later. See ya.